The jungle always smells heavier at night. Not rotten exactly, just thick. Wet leaves, black mud, river water, and something older underneath it all. Something alive. The kind of air that clings to your skin and slides into your lungs until breathing itself feels slow. Somewhere deep in the Amazon basin, long after the birds stop calling, the silence changes shape. And if you've ever stood in that silence, you know what I mean. It's the kind of quiet that makes your body notice things before your brain does. A branch that didn't move a second ago ripples across dark water, the feeling that something has already seen you. A fisherman once described it perfectly. He said the jungle usually sounds alive at night. Frogs screaming, insects buzzing, birds fighting in the trees. But the moment the jaguar arrived, everything stopped. Not faded, stopped. Like the entire rainforest held its breath. And then he heard footsteps behind him. Not loud, not dramatic. Just soft pressure against wet ground. One step, then another. He turned his flashlight toward the trees and caught two amber eyes floating in the dark, low to the ground, motionless. The spotted jaguar, the most powerful big cat in the Americas. A predator so strong it doesn't kill the way lions or tigers do. Most cats suffocate their prey by clamping onto the throat. Jaguars do something far worse. They bite straight through the skull. Think about that for a second. Bone, thick bone, crushed between jaws designed by millions of years of brutal evolution. And the terrifying part, the jaguar rarely misses. Scientists studying jaguars discovered something that stunned even veteran wildlife biologists. Pound for pound, the jaguar has one of the strongest bite forces of any big cat on Earth. Stronger relative to size than a tiger, stronger than a lion. Its jaw closes with enough force to pierce turtle shells. Turtle shells. Imagine the pressure required for that. Nature didn't build this animal for elegant kills. It built a hydraulic press covered in muscle and spotted fur. The skull itself is compact and broad, almost engineered for leverage. Massive jaw muscles anchor along the head like thick cables. The canines are shorter than a tiger's but thicker, more stable, built less like knives and more like railroad spikes. And when the jaguar bites down, it doesn't just puncture. It collapses structure. Capybaras, deer, monkeys, caimans, even armored reptiles that most predators avoid completely. The jaguar doesn't care, because evolution handed it a weapon few animals can survive. Now here's where things become unsettling. Jaguars don't hunt through chaos. They hunt through patience. People imagine predators as creatures fueled by rage or bloodlust, but the jaguar feels colder than that, more calculated. It waits in silence for absurd amounts of time, perfectly still, muscles locked, eyes studying movement with terrifying precision. Then comes the explosion, a single burst, a blur of spotted muscle, and suddenly an animal weighing over 200 pounds is on top of prey before the victim even processes danger. Researchers using high-speed cameras discovered jaguars can launch themselves with shocking acceleration over short distances. Their shoulders are heavily built, almost disproportionate compared to slimmer cats like cheetahs. Every inch of the body exists for ambush, not speed, not endurance. Ambush. What if that's why people fear them differently? Because deep down, humans are terrified of things we never see coming. In 2014, a Brazilian guide traveling along a remote riverbank near the Pantanal noticed vultures circling unusually low near the water. He assumed a caiman had died nearby. But when he approached the shoreline, he found drag marks leading into thick vegetation. The guide followed them. That was the mistake. Inside the brush, hidden beneath roots and leaves, was a full-grown caiman nearly twice the jaguar's weight. Its skull had been punctured clean through. The predator was still nearby, watching. The guide later admitted the most horrifying part wasn't seeing the dead reptile. It was realizing the jaguar could have attacked him at any moment, and chose not to. That's the thing people misunderstand about apex predators. The deadliest ones aren't always aggressive. Sometimes they're selective, and selective predators become even scarier, because their restraint feels intelligent. There are indigenous communities throughout South America that speak about jaguars with a kind of uneasy respect, not just fear. Respect. Some tribes believe jaguars move between worlds. Others saw the spirits of punishment hidden inside the jungle. And honestly, when you understand how these cats operate, those stories stop sounding superstitious, because jaguars possess something deeply unnerving: confidence. They move like animals that know almost nothing can challenge them. Even crocodilians fear them. Imagine standing beside dark water at midnight, hearing splashes nearby, knowing a 12-foot caiman is somewhere beneath the surface, and then realizing something in that same water hunts the caiman. That's the jaguar. And yes, jaguars swim exceptionally well. Most big cats avoid deep water whenever possible. Jaguars practically own it. They cross rivers silently, stalk prey through flooded forests, and ambush animals directly from the waterline. There are recordings from the Pantanal where researchers watch jaguars pull giant caimans out of rivers using sheer jaw strength. The cat clamps onto the reptile's skull while twisting its body violently to destabilize it. Picture that struggle for a second. Black water exploding, scales slamming against mud, one predator trying to drown another. And somewhere nearby, hidden in darkness, the jungle listening without mercy. But perhaps the most chilling part of the jaguar isn't its strength, it's its silence. Tigers roar, lions announce themselves. Jaguars often kill without making a sound at all. Their paw pads are thick and soft, designed for stealth across wet terrain. Their spotted coats break apart their outline perfectly inside shifting jungle light. Even their movement feels ghost-like. You could walk within 30 feet of a jaguar and never know it. And before you dismiss that idea, it has happened. In Belize, wildlife photographer Hiroshi Nakamura spent weeks documenting jaguars near a remote forest corridor. One evening, after setting camera traps near a game trail, he reviewed footage from the previous night. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then he noticed glowing eyes behind him. Frame after frame revealed the same jaguar, trailing him silently for nearly 40 minutes, not charging, not growling, just following, close enough to strike the entire time. Nakamura later said he couldn't sleep for days afterward because of one thought. If the Jaguar wanted him dead, he never would have known what hit him. Now, ask yourself something. What kind of predator chooses to stay hidden even when it already has the advantage? That behavior tells us something ancient about the jaguar's psychology. Energy matters in the jungle. Injury matters even more. A broken tooth can mean starvation. A damaged paw can become a death sentence. So the jaguar evolved into a perfectionist. Every attack is calculated. Every movement economical. Even its killing method reflects efficiency. Instead of wrestling prey for long periods, the jaguar often aims directly for the skull or spinal column. Fast, precise, catastrophic. And once you understand that, the jaguar starts feeling less like an animal and more like an execution designed by nature itself. Biologists studying bite mechanics found the jaguar's head structure creates extraordinary pressure concentrated at the tips of its canine. Think of it like the difference between pressing your finger against wood and driving a nail through it. That concentrated force allows the jaguar to pierce areas other predators can't. Sea turtles, armadillos, bone, even thick reptilian armor. And unlike lions that often rely on teamwork, the jaguar hunts alone. Every successful kill depends entirely on its own strength and judgment. There's no backup, no pride, no pack, just one animal and the darkness around it. In some remote cattle regions of Brazil, ranchers still speak about jaguars the way sealers speak about storms, not with hatred, with caution. One rancher described hearing his horses panic late at night during heavy rain. When he investigated the following morning, he found enormous paw prints circling the corral. Nothing attacked, nothing killed. The jaguar had simply walked around the fence for hours, studying. The rancher eventually installed stronger lighting around the property. But weeks later, another jaguar appeared anyway. This time it bypassed the livestock completely and dragged a large dog into nearby forest without making enough noise to wake anyone. No screaming, no struggle heard, just absence. And maybe that's what makes the jaguar so psychologically disturbing. Predators like wolves create chaos when they hunt. You hear them. You feel the panic building. The jaguar leaves emptiness instead, a gap where something used to be. There's another reason the jaguar inspires fear. Humans recognize intelligence in its eyes. Wildlife experts often describe close jaguar encounters as strangely personal. The animal doesn't seem frantic or animalistic. It watches with eerie composure, almost evaluating. And yes, that perception may partly come from human imagination, but not entirely. Large predators constantly assess risk, distance, movement, weakness. Jaguars especially rely on observation because ambush demands timing. That means when a jaguar stares at you, studying, calculating, waiting for information. Now imagine being alone, in dense jungle while something stronger than you decides whether you're worth the effort. In 2022, ecotourists traveling through the Pantanal experienced something guides later called deeply unusual. A male jaguar emerged from river vegetation and climbed directly onto their boat. Not aggressively, calmly. The cat stood there for several seconds while passengers froze in silence. One woman later admitted she couldn't stop shaking because of how relaxed the jaguar looked. No fear, no urgency, just total control. Eventually the animal stepped back into the water and disappeared. But the image spread across the internet for a reason. People watching the footage felt the same thing. That strange collision between beauty and terror. Because jaguars are beautiful, that's important to admit. The gold fur, the black rosettes, the impossible grace in the way they move. Nature often hides its deadliest creations inside elegant dart frogs, orcas, snow-covered mountains, and the spotted jaguar. But what happens when humans push deeper into jaguar territory? That question grows more dangerous every year. Deforestation continues tearing apart sections of the Amazon. Roads cut through ancient hunting grounds, mining operations poison rivers, prey disappears, territory shrinks, and cornered predators become unpredictable. Attacks on humans remain rare, but they happen, usually in isolated regions, usually fast. A fisherman disappears, a tracker never returns, a scream echoes once across water and then stops. Researchers investigating several encounters noticed something chilling. Jaguars targeting humans often attacked from behind, aiming for the head or neck immediately. No warning displays, no intimidation rituals, just the same efficient precision they use on natural prey. And maybe that's the hardest truth about the spotted jaguar. It was never designed to coexist peacefully with us. The rainforest shaped it into a perfect solitary hunter long before humans arrived with cameras and roads and boats. To the jaguar, survival is mathematics, distance, timing, pressure, one clean bite. Nature doesn't care whether we find that frightening, but you should know something else. Despite all this power, jaguars are disappearing. Habitat loss, illegal hunting, and conflict with humans have reduced populations across huge portions of their historic range. Entire ecosystems are losing the predator that once controlled balance within rivers and forests. And when apex predators vanish, nature changes in ways people rarely notice at first. Prey populations explode, disease spreads differently, forests shift, silence transforms. Because terrifying creatures often play necessary roles, the jungle needs its shadows. Still, none of that changes what it feels like to hear a jaguar nearby. People who survive those encounters describe the same sensation over and over, not panic, awareness. A sudden understanding that humans are not always the dominant thing in the environment. There are places on Earth where we remain fragile, soft, slow, and the jaguar embodies that reality better than almost any predator alive. Because unlike animals that rely on spectacle, the jaguar barely announces itself at all. One moment the forest seems empty. The next moment you realize the hunter was there the entire time, watching, waiting, silent. So if you ever find yourself deep inside the Amazon after sunset, and the jungle suddenly goes quiet, pay attention, listen carefully to the silence. Because somewhere beyond the trees, hidden behind curtains of vines and black water, there may be a predator capable of crushing bone between its jaws like brittle ice. A creature older than civilization, patient enough to stalk without sound, strong enough to drag death straight out of rivers, and intelligent enough to decide whether or not you belong in its world. The spotted jaguar does not hunt for cruelty. It hunts because the jungle made it perfect. And perfection in the wild is a terrifying thing. Long after you leave the rainforest, you would still remember those eyes. Not because they looked angry, because they looked ancient. Like the jungle itself had opened its gaze for a moment and allowed you to witness something humans were never meant to stand beside comfortably. Most predators create fear through violence. The jaguar creates fear through certainty. The certainty that if it chooses to strike, the decision is already over before you understand it began. And tonight, somewhere beneath dripping leaves and moonlit rivers, another jaguar is moving through the darkness without a sound. Something nearby already senses it. The birds have stopped calling, the water has gone still, and in that terrible silence, the rainforest is warning every living thing of the same truth. The spotted jaguar is awake.